British Prime Minister Boris Johnson will hold on to his job for now. The embattled Johnson survived a no-confidence vote yesterday, securing enough support from his Conservative Party to remain in office. He won the backing of 211 out of the 359 Conservative lawmakers, more than the simple majority needed to hang on to power. The vote took place because of revelations that he and top staff repeatedly held parties at 10 Downing that flouted the COVID restrictions they had imposed on others. Support within his party had weakened, as some see the leader increasingly as a liability rather than an asset in upcoming elections. But with a majority of the vote, Johnson claims that his government can now move forward.
I think the most important thing, although you may want to focus on me and on politics and on Westminster, I think what matters is what we deliver and what we do. And as a result of this decision tonight by the Parliamentary Party, which I welcome, we have a conclusion to something that's been dragging on for far too long, and we have the ability now to unite, deliver and get on with the people's priorities, and that is what we're going to do. Okay?
Joining us now, London correspondent for The Washington Post, Carla Adam. Carla, good morning. Thanks for being with us today. Johnson can claim a victory there, but let's be clear. He survived by a pretty thin margin. Over 40% of his own party refused to back him. So clearly weakened. What does this mean for him moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, this is quite a big moment in British politics. We woke up yesterday morning not knowing if Boris Johnson would still be the prime minister by the end of the day, and as you just said there, he did win this no confidence vote, and his leadership. I feel like win is an odd word to perhaps use. He won narrowly. I mean, his win was remarkably close for a leader who only 2.5 years ago helped to lead his party to this massive majority, and now we have 41% of his colleagues saying that they don't have confidence in his leadership. He lives to fight another day, but he's clearly wounded, and we also have a divided Tory party. We have 148 people who've come out and said we don't back the prime minister. We have some top names now on the record as saying that he is unfit to govern. So it's he's not out of the woods yet. I mean, under the rules, I mean, technically the Conservative Party can't have another vote of no confidence like this for another 12 months. But rules can be changed, and there's some tough times ahead with the economy. There's some upcoming by-elections that don't look good for the Conservative Party. So I mean, Boris Johnson's he won. Yes, he lives to fight another day, but these are still some tough times for him.
Certainly. Do you see, so you mentioned it there very well about how he comes out of this alive but wounded politically. Do you have a sense of a path where he could win back support from some of the members of his own party, or do you think this is in a way the beginning of the end for Johnson?
I think supporters and people. So under the British system, MPs can oust Johnson if there's enough of them that want to do so. So some rules can be changed. They could do that. Maybe that happens. But I think MPs are sort of weighing up two things. I mean, on the one hand, they see a prime minister whose popularity ratings are in the dumps after months of sort of drip revelations about Partygate. He was booed at some Jubilee celebrations over the weekend. So they see a deeply unpopular prime minister, and should he be the one to lead them into the next general election in 2.5 years, or should they give him the shove now and perhaps get a new leader in place who would have time to develop and perhaps have a chance of winning the next general election? Or do they keep Boris Johnson? And clearly right now they've decided to keep Boris Johnson. And his supporters will say, I mean, look, he has been a proven vote winner. He is a Conservative politician. He won over London, which is a very left-leaning city, twice when as mayor of London. He also won a really big majority in 2019. So he's a politician that's known to have cross-party appeal. In the 2019 election, he won over parts of the country that for generations have voted Labour. Can he do that again, or is he just sort of too wounded? And I think that I think MPs, Conservative MPs in his own party are weighing up those two things. But Boris Johnson is very much helped that there's no plan B. There's no obvious successor to him. And until that comes, he's safe for the moment, I think.
For the moment, but certainly a politically precarious time with economic headwinds, worries about a recession, the ongoing challenges posed by Brexit, and so on. It's been an eventful couple days, United Kingdom, the Jubilee, and this vote. The Washington Post, Carla Adam, thanks so much for being with us today.